Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, and I believe that all readers should read children's literature, especially adults. So that's what we do on the Kidlit Love podcast. We celebrate all things children's literature, picture books, early readers, middle grade, and young adult novels too. Whether you're an adult reading to your inner child or connecting the young readers in your lives with fantastic books, you've come to the right place. Each week, we'll talk to a different children's literature author and discuss their books, their hopes and dreams for readers, their writing process, and much, much more. So, grab a notebook to build your TBR, and let's get to today's episode of Kidlit Love. Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie. I'm your book-loving, notebook-hoarding reader and writer on a mission to change lives one book and one notebook at a time. And I'm here today to welcome you to the Kidlit Love podcast. This is episode 0, the starting point, where it all begins. I wanted to take just a few minutes to tell you a little bit more about who I am, what I hope to achieve here on this joyful podcast, and what you can expect as a listener. So first, a little bit about me. I have always been a reader and writer for as long as I can remember. I have stacks of books all over my house. I would much rather read than do anything else, truly. And I always had a notebook close by too, so that I could capture my own ideas and my own poetry. Weekly trips to the library, weekly trips with my grandma to the bookstore, so many memories wrapped around books. I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to spend my days teaching other kids how to read. That's exactly what I did. I started off as a first grade teacher and fourth grade teacher, and then moved my way into what I felt was the best job in the world, which was a literacy specialist. I got to spend my days working with kids, teaching them how to read and how to love reading. From there, I started working with teachers to share my joy and love of reading and teaching with them so that they could bring it back to their classrooms too. And I loved that work so much that I ultimately went on in my own education so that I could teach teachers right from the beginning. I mean, what better job is there than to share my love of reading and writing with others? Other teachers who can then spread that joy onto their students, and other parents, other adults who can help bring the next generations of readers to life too. I've always believed in the power of reading and writing. Learning how to read and write can change the trajectory of our entire lives. And then getting that one book that is exactly the book that we need, that was meant for us at the time that we needed it, that's when magic happens. And I love sparking that magic. I've always gravitated towards books that I can connect with. I am a huge fan of realistic fiction. And as you might expect, I spend a lot of time reading. I strive to have about a 50-50 split, 50% adult literature and 50% children's literature. I do teach children's literature. I work with teachers and students. And so I'm lucky that I get to divide up my reading life this way. But when I think about the genres and the books that really light me up, it always comes back to Kidlit. I have another podcast called Get Literate. It's where we focus on using books and reading and notebooks and writing, and we mix it with mindfulness and creativity to use books and reading to create lives we love. And on that podcast, I'm lucky enough to talk about books around particular themes, to talk about notebooks and the power of writing, and to have some really great conversations with authors. But if I'm honest, the authors that I really want to talk to, the authors that I gravitate towards and just want to have conversations with, They're children's literature authors, always. And so that's what I decided to do. I decided to create a second podcast, this podcast that you're listening to, Kidlit Love, so that I can spend time talking to those children's literature authors that I admire. Now, I truly believe that adults should read children's literature. And I believe they should read children's literature for a variety of reasons. And one of the big ones is that we can read to our own inner child, right? We all have an inner child inside of us that still wants or needs something. And there's just something so wonderful about reading a book from the perspective of a child that helps us think, that helps us think back, that helps us reflect, that helps us heal, that helps us better connect with the young people in front of us. And that's the other piece of this podcast. I want adults to listen, to read to their inner child, but I also want adults to listen so that they can match books to readers, the younger readers in their lives, and keep this wonderful tradition of reading alive. Books can help us feel seen. Books can help us see something new. They can help us learn something new and connect with a new friend, visit a new place that we haven't ever visited, and then ultimately take inspired action from the pages of a book that can help us lead a better life. That's what I believe, and that's what I am here to do on this podcast. Each week, I'll talk to a different children's literature author. These authors may be your favorites, and they may be popular authors that have written book after book after book, but they also might be lesser known authors who are working on their debut novels and cannot wait to get their books into the hands of others. Each week, I will talk with that author. We'll learn more about them. We'll learn more about their backstories, and we'll also learn of at least one book they're publishing recently. I think that's the best. When you get to connect to an author, learn more about what they are thinking and feeling and how they came to be a writer and how their story ideas are there and how and where and why they put the themes and the characters and the settings and the events in the books that they do, the book just becomes that much more powerful. And you can think of someone in your life, yourself or someone else, that you know that book is going to be perfectly matched for. We'll talk about picture books, middle grade books, and young adults too. And we'll mix them all up so that we have seasonal selections and timely selections and brand newly published books, as well as back to our old favorites. I'm so excited that you are here to join me in this process. You can expect a new episode to drop on every Friday morning, just in time for weekend reading. You can find more about the episodes on my website at alitlife.com. I'll have all the show notes there for you to browse, to click on the titles selected, and to leave me a comment too. You can also find me on just about all of the social media platforms at AfinitoLit. I'll be sure to post there, updating the new episodes and giving you sneak peeks into who some of those guests might be. I cannot wait to connect together around my love and your love of children's literature. Together, we truly can change the way we think, the way we see the world, the way we relax, the way we connect with others, all through the power of children's literature. I have some really exciting authors that are coming onto the podcast in the next couple of weeks to help me kick this podcast off. But if you know of an author that you would love for me to talk to and you would love to spread the word about their books, please tell me. You can find me on social media. You can send me an email at stephanieaffinito@gmail.com. Or better yet, you can just click the voice note button inside your podcast platform. And you can tell me who those authors might be, what books you think others need to know about, and I'll get right on it, creating episodes that are based on what we all want to hear about and ultimately read. So thank you so much for joining me on this very wonderful journey into the world of Kidlit Love. Stay tuned for the episodes that are coming your way, and happy reading. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Kidlit Love podcast. You'll find links to all the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes at alitlife.com. And if you want more, you might like to listen to my other podcast called Get Literate. It's a podcast that explores all things books and reading, notebooks and writing, and everything in between to build a life you love. One more thing. If you love what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a bookish friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish community of Kidlit Love. Thanks for listening.